Hi guys, welcome to the Language Lads YouTube channel. My name's Johnny and in today's video we're going to talk all about my language learning goals for 2026. So if you're watching this in January 2026 when it's going to be released, then Happy New Year you legends. Hope you're having a good one so far. If you're watching it later in the year, then I hope 2026 is going well. And if you're watching this in subsequent future years, then welcome back to 2026. I hope it was a good year for you. So back to the present. What are my language learning goals for this year? Well, 2026 for me is a massive and really like a cause for celebration year because it represents for me a decade of being really obsessed with language learning, which is super cool. So right back in 2016, I started that year really only speaking English and a tiny bit of German that I'd learned in school. So how long was that before that? Like 16 years. Finished GCSEs in the year 2000. So yeah, 16 years previously at that stage, now 26 years ago. Time is flying. But basically I was like, just English, a bit of German. And then an amazing friend of ours, she started going out with somebody who would actually had been to uni in Germany and could speak German. I was like, this is super, super inspiring. I'm not going to name any names, so I don't tend to publicly on YouTube unless people have already given me permission to do so. But this person basically inspired me to get back into my German learning. We started chatting, having conversations with each other in German. After a few months of me getting back into it and then having conversations on FaceTime, etc. in German, and that then spiraled into me thinking I can do this. I really enjoyed this, really cool. The caretaker at the school I used to work at that time was from Belgium and he spoke Flemish, which is very closely related to Dutch. So I started getting into learning Dutch and that was amazing and I loved it. And then the students that I was teaching at the time were like, "Oh, what could you do a bit of Spanish, sir? Like we know you're into languages. Do you want to do a bit of Spanish? We're struggling. We could do with some help." And I was like, "Yeah, wicked. That sounds amazing." So I started learning some Spanish. Then the French part, like, "Do you want to learn some French?" And it just ricocheted and continued from there to the point where by the end of 2016, I was like, right. I'm going to set myself a goal, being able to go into any cafe anywhere in Western Europe and basically be able to have a basic level conversation. So I've talked about this before in videos about the idea of fluent. I would say that my aim is to make sure that I'd be able to go into a cafe and be able to order my drink, have a little chat, talk to the waiter or waitress, but talk to locals about a variety of things. Not that I could have like crazy high level conversations or that I wouldn't slow people down at all, but that it would be a conversation where it wasn't just completely like disjointed, and also where I wouldn't, for the basic things in life, need to resort to using technology in order to translate things, / going back to just saying, do you speak English in the local language? That was no, I don't want to do that. So this year represents 10 years into that challenge. And that challenge was essentially at that point, and I was still sticking to this, would be to get myself conversational in all the North Germanic languages. So that was Icelandic, Norwegian, Swedish and Danish, going through in that order of geography. Then the West Germanic languages, so going in that order of geography, obviously English, which I'm a native speaker in, obviously, and then Dutch and German. And then the Romance languages, the primary ones of which I wanted to learn, would be going from west to east: Portuguese, Spanish, Catalan, French and Italian. So, sort of begs the question, where am I at with these languages at this stage? So I've made a video on this before, but essentially where I'm at with these languages is English, native level, happy days. German, I have definitely got to the level that I want to in German in terms of this, like the conversational thing, happy days. Dutch, I need to make sure by the end of this year, if I want to hit my challenge, I need to improve my Dutch quite a bit. We're also going to Netherlands, going to Netherlands once and Belgium, but the Netherlands, the Flemish speaking bit, another point. So this year, so I want to get really involved in my Dutch this year. So German, sort of tick it on. Dutch, really smash it and like go for that big time to push that to that next level. Obviously English, I think I might have said that 30 seconds ago, native level, no problem there. So the North Germanic ones, I'm working a lot on my Danish and my Swedish at the moment. I'm really enjoying those languages. Find them super fascinating, watching a lot of Netflix series in those languages, absolutely loving it. Some amazing Spotify content, which is aimed at intermediate learners of those languages. So I understand the intermediate content in those, but I'm getting the spoken is my next thing. So I need to double down on those two a lot this year. And then I'll come back to Norwegian and Icelandic in a minute. And then with the Spanish, I feel like I'm at the level roughly. I want to just tick it on so I can have conversation in Spanish. It's all good, but I need to just tick it on a little bit. And then French, similar to Spanish. So which then leaves the ones where the next two that I've got a reasonable thing in is Italian and Portuguese. So those two I can understand quite a bit, but it's getting really onto it so I can learn to speak those two this year. So that's quite a big priority. And then the ones that are a massive priority for me would be Catalan, which I haven't really started at all. So I really need to crack on with some Catalan this year. And then Norwegian, which is some variants towards the Swedish border. It's very similar to Swedish, so I'm all good with that. But some of the New Norse dialects, very different to the other North Germanic languages, and I really need to like double down on some of that stuff to make sure I can understand that, because at the moment, having watched a couple of sort of episodes, kids episodes of Bluey in Norwegian with my little ones, I'm like, no, I don't understand that at all yet without the subtitles. So I really do need to get on that. And then the real proper elephant in the room for me this year is Icelandic, which I haven't touched at all in that entire decade. So if we go back through that, the ones that I'm like just tick on because I feel like I've completed them to the level of my challenge, and therefore these are just ticking on languages this year, would be German, Spanish and French. Okay, I'm almost at that level in Dutch, but because I'm going to Dutch speaking places twice this year, I'm going to be absolutely hammering on the Dutch this year. Very excited about that. That will give me these 4 languages. Then the ones that I'm like, I can understand it pretty well, but I need to go for this quite a lot in terms of learning how to speak it, would be your Portuguese, your Italian, your Swedish and your Danish, which would then take us to 8. And then the 2 that I really need to focus on a lot would be your Icelandic and your Catalan, with also, I've just mentioned Norwegian, those 3. So yeah, that's my mission. Tick on my German, tick on my French, tick on my Spanish, smash the Dutch out of the park, get myself listening to massive amounts of content in the Scandinavian languages, of the Scandinavian mainland languages, the North Germanic ones that I can understand quite well, New Norse, which I struggle with. Absolutely start some Icelandic, and then see, because at the moment I've got absolutely no idea with Catalan how well I'm going to be able to understand it. I'm hoping, because it's got so many things in common with the other Romance languages, that I might be in a position where I can understand a bit. That'd be cool. And then the Romance ones that I want to absolutely nail this year so I can actually speak them as well as understand them quite well would be Portuguese and Italian. So that's that. That is my language learning goals for 2026. If I can achieve all that, then I should be, by the end of this year, roughly, hopefully, fingers crossed, at the point where I can say, yep, that has been a year well done, and I've been able to get to that conversational level in all of those languages. I will be making separate videos as to how I'm attempting to do this and why, etc. In the future, but that was just setting out what I'm aiming to achieve this year with my language learning. So yeah, have a lovely year, or I hope you had a lovely year, or I hope you're having a lovely year. Goodbye!